On this day in 2001, 25 years ago, Universal Pictures released Josie and the Pussycats, a live-action film adaptation of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon series, which in turn was based upon Archie Comics. The series followed a teenage all-girl rock band who would constantly get caught up in various mysteries and adventures. It was kind of like a mix of Scooby-Doo and the Monkees. At the time that the movie version came out, live-action film adaptations of Saturday morning cartoons seemed very frequent, with movies such as The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, Inspector Gadget, Dudley Do-Right, George of the Jungle, and Scooby-Doo. Quite a few of them were modernized for the then-current audience. But many of these films have become a part of our own childhood nostalgia, so in this installment of Nostalgia Talk Bonus, I'm looking back on Josie and the Pussycats. With what I said about these adaptations being more modernized, at this time, the teen pop era was taking over radio, television, and album sales, mostly with boy bands, such as Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees, and O-Town. As the movie opens, we see a large gaggle of screaming teenagers, mostly girls, but there is one guy, standing by an airport terminal waiting on the fictional boy band Du Jour, as the band arrives and performs an impromptu concert. This seems to be a parody of the Backstreet Boys video for I Want It That Way. After the band takes off in their private plane on their way to Riverdale with their manager Wyatt Frame, the band's egos start to clash as members Marco and DJ start arguing over Marco's pet monkey. Another member of the group, Travis, has a bit of a problem with Marco's ego, feeling that Marco is mocking him and taking too much attention away from Travis, without any concern for the other members of the group. The other member of the group, Les, seems to be the only one not getting involved, stating, "Du jour means friendship," and Wyatt manages to calm the rest of the band down. Just then, Les brings an issue of his to the table, having heard a mysterious sound on one of their recordings. The band shares the recording with Wyatt, who very suspiciously claims to have no idea what the sound is, as he heads to the plane's cockpit, jumping out of the plane with the pilot, leaving the plane to crash, while Wyatt and the pilot land safely in Riverdale, where an all-female rock trio called the Pussycats have finished performing at a local bowling alley, but nobody really seems to be paying attention. After only losing money off of their gig, lead singer and guitar player Josie starts to lose hope in the band becoming successful as she practices at home on her own, when Alan M., a fellow musician and Josie's love interest, asks her to fix his truck, with him singing as she does so and she joins in. Josie gives Alan M. some advice on how to take better care of the truck, which he turns into songs. While Josie's fixing the truck, Alan M. asks her for some advice on how to talk to someone without knowing how they'll react to what the other has to say. It seems as though Josie believed this to be love advice, but Alan M. explained that one of his co-workers has a bad odor. Josie and Alan M. have a good laugh about this as she finishes fixing the truck. Josie and her bandmates, bass player Valerie and drummer Melody, are having dinner when the band's manager Alexandra comes in with donuts. And his snobby sister Alexandra. Josie thinks that Alexandra is trying to suck up to the band for missing their gig, but Alexandra comments, "Sure we didn't miss much," and starts to get into an argument with Melody before Alexandra breaks it up, suggesting that Alexandra wait for him. She refuses, she's like, "Make me," and the siblings bicker before Alexandra intentionally steps on Alexandra's foot to shut her up, but it doesn't get her to leave as she discovers that Alexander has been spending his time away from the group going to see Du Jour, who the Pussycats see as competition. Alexander tries to deflect by pretending to answer a call from a record label asking for a demo tape from the Pussycats, but Josie is no dummy and knows that it's a fake call. And Alexandra smarts off by pointing out to the girls that it's a fake call, which Josie fires back by pointing out to Alexandra that her fly is open. Unable to come up with a comeback, Alexandra just says, "You suck." Alexandra strikes me as the kind of person who will go out of her way to create a confrontation. Good thing Josie's too smart for her. Just then, the news reports that the members of Du Jour have been reported missing after Wyatt had abandoned them before in their private jet, bringing the pilot with him. Melody suggests raising money for a search party and excitedly heads out, but Josie and Valerie appear much more sympathetic. But suddenly, Josie sees this as an opportunity to become the next big name in music, saying, "When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, and when the going gets tough," and Melody chimes in, "the tough make lemonade." And the girls just go along with it. Meanwhile, Wyatt makes his way to the Mega Records store, the label where Du Jour had been signed, to scout new talent, and has the DJ play an unreleased remix single from Du Jour. While the reaction is positive, a customer in the shop thinks that the reaction was fake, and that the public only reacted positively to blend in with the crowd. Unimpressed, Wyatt takes the customer down to the basement exit of the store to hear what she has to say, only for her to be abducted after Wyatt called in a favor. Still chasing success, the Pussycats try their hand at busking, only to be turned away by the manager of a nearby Steve Madden, who finds their style too old-fashioned to play outside of his store, feeling as though they will only turn customers away and leaves to call the police. Yeah, good luck with that, it's a public area. And they're not really doing anything illegal. What a conceited little asshole. But it would appear that he kept his word, as the girls hear the sound of sirens and run away, but are almost hit by Wyatt's car, and immediately, Wyatt sees big things for the band and offers the Pussycats a record deal. The girls head to the bathroom, with Alexandra doing her makeup, to discuss it. At first, Josie finds Wyatt and his offer a bit strange, but they are excited to be offered a record deal at all, and decide to go for it, with Alexandra, Alexander, and Alan M tagging along on Wyatt's private plane to New York City, with Josie lying that Alan M is her guitar tech. Upon reaching the city, the girls are given a makeover, and before they've had the chance to even record or release anything, Wyatt already has put up a billboard in Times Square, changing the band's name from the Pussycats to Josie and the Pussycats. Wyatt breaking the fourth wall. Would you rather buy a CD, or read a comic, or watch a cartoon, and go and see a movie about Josie and the Pussycats? He is kind of acting a little creepy though at this point, and while Valerie doesn't agree with the name change, Melody finds it catchy. Meanwhile, Wyatt's boss Fiona meets with government representatives from around the world to share her plans to use the US government to use music trends to brainwash teenagers for merchandise and concert ticket sales, describing it as turning your world into one giant TV commercial, with the downfalls and even deaths of artists being used to bring more attention, with the documentary series VH1 Behind the Music earning high ratings on TV. To describe it further, she shows the officials a demonstration video starring Eugene Levy. Wyatt brings the girls in to begin their first recording, and after photo shoots, music videos, and secretly hiding subliminal messages, Josie and the Pussycats immediately becomes a success, with merchandising and record sales through the roof, earning the band a #1 single on the charts and getting recognized in the streets. While the girls are excited about their success, Josie finds it strange at how quickly it all happened after only 1 week. Wyatt invites the girls to a party Fiona is holding to celebrate the girls' instant success, adding that the girls are booked to play a stadium concert. Josie thinks it's a bit much, suggesting playing smaller venues first to build a following, which Wyatt states the band already has. Melody is very excited for this opportunity, while Fiona plans to use this as a way to promote her new surround sound technology, making concert goers and those watching the show's webcast purchase a headset made to look like the band's signature cat ears headband, with their subliminal messages being played in place of the band's songs. Josie and the Pussycats' success continues to climb, with Valerie's room decorated with merchandise from Target and Melody's shower seemingly being sponsored by McDonald's. But suddenly, when she gets out of the shower, a very cryptic message shows up on her bathroom mirror. But she decorates it to make it look, shall we say, cuter. Does she even read it? And plus, Josie's been suspicious this whole time about Wyatt. Wouldn't Melody think that maybe that message has something to do with that? Meanwhile, as the band's leader, Josie becomes so busy with all of the sudden success and attention that while she prepares for the party, she forgets about her plans with Alan M as he shows up with a pizza. But Alan M doesn't seem too upset about it and appears to be pleasantly surprised by Josie's outfit just when Wyatt arrives to take Josie to the party. Before she leaves, Alan M asks Josie out for the next day, but most of Josie's day is taken up by press interviews, so Wyatt arranges the date for them. Sold to the young man with no future. The girls arrive at the party, but Josie and Valerie feel as if they don't belong among this group of people, while all that's going on in Melody's head is, if you're happy and clap your hands, doing so immediately after thinking it when the lights suddenly all go out. I thought at first that they had a clapper and Melody shut off the lights herself, but as it turns out, it was an introduction for Fiona as she is carried down to the party and brings Josie and the Pussycats with her to her room. Her room's full of all of these old toys that she probably played with when she was a kid. I would have assumed that this was her childhood bedroom, but now I'm thinking that she actually lives at the record label headquarters. And that room is about the size of a house. A butler comes in serving snacks, and Melody immediately digs in, and Fiona tries to get Josie to join in. Josie looks rather hesitant, but she goes along with it. Fiona starts to ask Josie some very odd questions while adding some unusual comments and starts lisping when she speaks, claiming to have something stuck in her teeth as she heads out. The girls attempt to sneak out just when Fiona suddenly returns. Valerie then gets suspicious of Fiona, and Melody starts to agree, claiming that Fiona gives her shivers, although Valerie points out that Melody was sitting on an ice sculpture. But after Melody gets off, She still agrees with Valerie. Josie isn't sure what to think, and Valerie states that things have really changed since they left Riverdale. Little do they know that Wyatt and Fiona are spying on the girls. Fiona doesn't like Valerie and Melody getting suspicious of them, and Wyatt plots to have them fired. But Fiona feels as if that isn't enough and demands Wyatt keep Josie and put those two nosy little pussycats to sleep. However, Wyatt doesn't think Josie would play without her friends, but Fiona insists that Valerie and Melody be killed. You know, as dark as this is getting, this is sort of similar to the cartoon. As I mentioned before, the cartoon followed the band on all kinds of strange adventures, much like fellow Hanna-Barbera series Scooby-Doo. And a lot of those older Scooby-Doo episodes did seem somewhat darker than what we're used to. If they rebooted the Josie and the Pussycats cartoon today, I feel like the idea would still be the same, but it would be somewhat toned down. And not too long after this movie was when the live-action Scooby-Doo film was released, and that as well was somewhat dark. I don't mind the dark sides of some of these old-school cartoons. I mean, look at Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, for example. Anyway, carrying on, Alan M. shares with Josie that he got a gig after sharing his demo with the bar manager, and invites Josie to the gig just when she gets recognized at an aquarium, and she and Alan M. get chased away, with them hiding in a room labeled for authorized personnel only, where Josie admits to Alan M. that the sudden attention has become a lot. But Alan M. states that he believes in Josie and insists that she do the same for herself. Alan M. leans in for a kiss, but the moment is ruined by a scuba diver who swims by to take their picture, with a sign on their chest reading, "I love you, Josie." As the girls start to plan for the concert, Valerie notices Josie's face on all of the band's merchandise just when Wyatt comes in to announce that he has booked the group to appear on TRL, which, for anyone who doesn't know, stands for Total Request Live. It was a video countdown show on MTV that aired afternoons and had a major following in the late 90s and early 2000s. This excites Melody, but Valerie doesn't feel satisfied. However, Wyatt informs her that only she and Melody will be on the show. Valerie asks if Josie is okay with it, and Josie admits that she doesn't care about fame. Wyatt sends the girls off and leaves Josie with the mix of the band's newest single for her to listen to. Josie mentions that she promised Alan M. that she would appear at his gig, and Wyatt claims that Alan M. called Wyatt's office to inform him that the gig was cancelled. Disappointed, Josie starts to question why Alan M. didn't call her instead, and Wyatt states that Alan M. won't be available for several hours and would call Josie when he gets the chance. Josie finds all of this incredibly suspicious and questions Wyatt, to which he lashes out at Josie about her level of non-commitment, claiming that she isn't putting in the work to become successful. Yep, nothing weird about that. Melody and Valerie make it to what looks like the TRL studio, only to discover right away that it's fake as a strange man appears, claiming to be Carson Daly, who was the host of TRL. Just then, Carson shows up to Melody's excitement, but things soon take a turn when he and the impersonator attempt to kill Valerie and Melody using baseball bats, while Josie listens to the CD on headphones, causing her to miss Alan M.'s call, wondering where she is before his show. Back at the TRL studio, the Carson Daly impersonator attempts to kill Valerie while doing other impressions, which is kind of funny, not that he's a secret murderer, but because he's played by an impressionist named Aries Spears, who was a regular on Mad TV. Valerie criticizes him for his impressions, stating that he isn't funny, and she gets out of the way when he attempts to attack, but crashes into the fake TRL set as it falls on top of him. Melody starts to bond with the real Carson over their common interests, and he lets slip that he is involved in Fiona's conspiracy. While it appears that Melody isn't really listening and finds herself too charmed by Carson, she attacks him with a cardboard cutout set up in the fake audience as she and Valerie escape. Josie continues listening to the single while getting her nails done when Valerie and Melody show up to warn Josie about what is going on. Right away, Josie turns into a self-absorbed diva, taking credit for the entire band, sending Valerie away, and Josie starts mocking Melody as she runs off too. Later on, Josie takes a walk while listening to the song, walking past posters of the band, with the hidden subliminal message in the song stating that Valerie and Melody are holding Josie back, and she should be a star on her own. However, Josie eventually trips, knocking the headphones out, and her old bus pass with Melody and Valerie falls out of her wallet as she heads back to the band's apartment, I guess, to find Alexander and Alexandra, who inform Josie that Valerie and Melody took off, and Josie plays the CD for them, using the mixing board in the recording studio to uncover the hidden subliminal message. Alexandra recognizes the voice in the message as the announcer for Movie Phone, believing that Josie got him to be involved in the recording, and appears amazed, But Josie surmises that Wyatt was involved and figures out his plan to sell merchandise through music in an attempt to brainwash the public. Before Josie can alert the authorities, Fiona suddenly shows up at the studio with a group of bodyguards who bring Josie to the venue of the big concert, where Fiona is joined by Wyatt. The pair try to manipulate Josie into performing, with everyone in the crowd wearing their headsets that Fiona had presented earlier. It's there that Josie is reunited with Melody and Valerie, but Valerie is still upset over what happened earlier. Josie explained to the girls that Fiona and Wyatt were using their songs to hide subliminal messages for consumer purposes, but Fiona and Wyatt manipulate Josie further by making her choose between performing on stage or having the car blown up with Melody and Valerie in it. Josie decides to play the show to save her friends, and she apologizes for her prior behavior, admitting that the band name doesn't matter as long as they're together. But Fiona pushes Josie out of the way to start the show. However, before she hits the stage, Josie threatens to expose Fiona's secret, but Fiona brushes it off, thinking that she has all the power in the world and no one will believe Josie. When suddenly, the members of Du Jour show up alive, albeit injured, after landing the plane on their own in the parking lot of a Metallica concert, where they were beaten by fans, with 3 of the 4 members in full body casts and unable to defeat Wyatt and Fiona just when Josie escapes to save Melody and Valerie. However, Fiona catches up to her and insults the girls. Josie decides that she's had enough and attacks Fiona, with Valerie attacking Wyatt as soon as she escapes from the car, and Melody fights the bodyguards with karate. Fiona attempts to beat Josie with her guitar, but Josie gets out of the way before Fiona can strike as the guitar hits the mixing board, cutting out the signal in the headsets containing the hidden subliminal messages, as everyone in the audience and watching online takes the headsets off. Just then, Wyatt discovers that Fiona has hidden her own subliminal message to draw attention to herself. Fiona tries to hide it, but she keeps lisping, which is heard in the recording of the message, and she admits that she was bullied because of it. And Wyatt remembers Fiona as lisping Lisa Snyder from high school, where Wyatt was known as White Ass Wally, and admits he's been using a fake English accent to try to make himself seem cool, also revealing he's been wearing a wig the entire time, and Fiona, or I guess Lisa now, admits she's been using fake teeth to talk without a lisp. With Wally and Lisa now happy with themselves, Alexander decides that his expensive clothes don't define him when the US government shows up, as they were in on Lisa's plans. Josie is not aware of that and exposes it to government agent Kelly, who pretends to act surprised but has both Lisa and Wally arrested for conspiracy against the youth of America, much to Lisa's shock, but Agent Kelly admits they were going to shut the whole thing down after the concert, finding that subliminal messages work better in movies. And there it is right there. Do you agree with that? With Lisa and Wally now gone, the girls hit the stage. But before playing the show, Josie removes her cat ears headband, and the rest of the crowd does the same with theirs. She then tests the audience by putting hers back on, which everyone else follows after. Knowing that this is because of the hidden messages in the songs, Josie decides to play a new song and encourages the crowd to decide for themselves if they like it or not. The crowd is delighted by what they hear, as do those watching the webcast. Even Alan M showed up at the concert to cheer Josie on. Josie notices this and calls to him in the crowd, where he admits that he loves Josie despite her not feeling the same way, and the fact that she never showed up to his gig, confirming to Josie that it never was cancelled. Finally, Josie admits that she does indeed love Alan M as he makes it on stage, and the two share a kiss before continuing on with the concert, while Les from Du Jour starts to flirt with Alexandra. Alright, so that's Josie and the Pussycats. Definitely had a similar feel to the cartoon, I think, but like I said before, it seems somewhat darker. It was a bit more, shall we say, mature than the cartoon. I do feel like all the product placement in it gave the movie kind of a nostalgic feel. I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel one of these days. What about you guys? Anyway, let me know what you thought of the Josie and the Pussycats movie in the comments. I hope you enjoyed listening to this retrospective, and I hope you have a great day.